3, 2, 1. Is this thing working? Oh, I think it is. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to this Playing Beyond CLIL webinar.
Hello, everyone. Today we're going to illustrate the Show What You Know event as an alternative way of assessing learning in CLIL context and beyond. We will look at different types of activities to try to help you make your teaching and assessment a little bit different and, if possible, more engaging and effective. But I think you are all wondering, who are we? First, we are members of an Erasmus Plus project called Playing Beyond CLIL, where institutions from 4 countries have been working together. Edinburgh University and Interacting Theatre Company from UK, Helsinki University and the city of Espoo from Finland, Humboldt University and the Europa Veratum Company from Germany, and from Spain, the University of Las Palmas de Gran Canaria and the Consejería de Educación, the Canarian Education Ministry. And this webinar is part of the intellectual outputs designed in this project. Playing Beyond CLIL is innovative and it brings together new ways of pedagogic thinking, which focuses on alternative ways of assessing learning, not only CLIL, content and language integrated learning context, but of course beyond. Relevant to any age, any language and stage classrooms. This webinar is a result of this philosophy, which has started from the design of a theoretical basis of CLIL to arrive at an assessment of learning through drama using Show What You Know techniques. Next, please. Next slide. Okay. I'm Judith Gutierrez, English teacher, and now working at the Canadian Educational Ministry in international programs. My interest is quality.
And our involvement with Show What You Know comes from the world of theatre. What we do is connect drama and education. And this project has been a wonderful way of bringing these together.
Hi, and I am Sergio Perez. I am a secondary schools teacher. I'm an EFL teacher. I'm passionate about CLIL. I've been teaching in CLIL context for many years, but I also work for part-time for the University of Las Palmas de Gran Canaria in a teacher training college.
Good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are. My name is Patricia Arnaiz. I teach at the University of Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, like Sergio. I teach future primary teachers and future secondary teachers. Next. Next slide. Right. Well, our purpose today is to give you a clear picture of what a Show What You Know event is. We will try to do it through descriptions and examples. We will be looking at the flash mob, the panel show. Next slide. Okay, and the trailer. Next slide. Actually, before presenting in detail the different types of Show What You Know events, we'll look at 2 pedagogical approaches, which are process drama and pluriliteracies. We will also be looking at deeper learning. Next. But before that, we'll see some practical considerations for this webinar. We'll be together for around 90 minutes, more or less, perhaps a little bit more or a little bit less. This webinar is being recorded, and it will be uploaded to our website, to the website we have for the project. You have it on the screen, the Playing Beyond Cleves website. As for the target groups, when preparing this webinar, the target groups we had in our minds were the ones you see on the screen: teachers, advisors, language learners, and master's degree students. Of course, if you belong to any other target group that are not on the screen, you're more than welcome to stay with us. You are also welcome to ask any questions using the chat mechanism you have. We'll try to answer them there, but also we'll be dedicating time to answering your questions around each Show What You Know event. After the event, we will upload a frequently asked questions file to the website of our project that you can have a look at any time. Okay, now we are going to ask you a question. We will give you a link for you to answer this question we are going to ask you. We're going to use Padlet for that. Can you please, can we have the link in the chat? The question we would like you to answer when you join the link you're going to see on the chat is, have you used theater in your class? Exactly, that's the link. Could you please when you go to that link, can you please pin your answer to the map, signaling the country or the city where you are today? Thank you.
There's some fantastic global variety in our audience today. Really impressive.
Yeah. Berlin, Canada, Romania, Finland.
Wow, that's impressive, isn't it?
Nice, very nice that you are all with us today.
Mm-hmm.
Getting bigger, expanding.
Right, quite a number.
That's someone all the way over in Japan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
isn't it? And it did zoom out. It was like giving the impression that we were traveling all the way to Japan, wasn't it?
And now our challenge is to fill up the rest of the world map in the next webinar.
Okay. I think we might as well keep on going, and we will show it afterwards so people will see the rest of the map. What do you think?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, so what is a Show What You Know? It is an activity in which learners use their imagination, their creativity to show their understanding of what's going on. They can do that, of what's going on in the classroom, I meant. They can do that with the language orally. They can do it with their bodies, or they can do it in visual mode. Show What You Know take well-known media formats. You will see that later. Ed will show you. As I was saying, Show What You Know take well-known media formats and connect them with different areas in the curriculum. There are two pedagogical approaches that I mentioned earlier that will be present in each Show What You Know. They are plural literacies and process drama. Next. But what is process drama about? Process drama is, as the name says, focuses on the process. It focuses on what learners do while preparing the performance. It uses theater games and learners' imagination. Learners, while in process drama, will be working in small groups. And process drama takes takes the basic features of task-based learning. In process drama, learners engage with each other, creating scenes, using content and language. Now, plural literacies. What is plural literacies about? Plural literacies is about helping learners to learn how to use the language of subjects for different purposes. They might need to use the language to describe something, to guess, to express feelings, to order, to ask questions, to analyze. It is when learners use the language in their own way that we say they are languaging. Next slide. Yeah, we have it there, languaging. When they show their understanding in their own language, or when their understanding, or what they are trying to understand at least. There's still another concept we also need in order to understand the Show What You Know event as an alternative way of teaching, learning, and assessing in the classroom. Judy.
Thank you, Patricia. Okay, but when do we say deeper learning happens? I think the answer is inside these two words, deeper and learning. Deep learning requires learners to think and discuss in order to understand concepts and then apply these concepts to real life situations. In deep learning, learners relate or connect new ideas and concepts to their previous knowledge and experience. Deep learning also requires that learners reflect on their own understanding and their own process of learning. In comparison, deep learning is usually contrasted with surface learning that typically includes memorization, rote learning, and accepting information without further questioning. Deep learning is transferable learning that takes place when learners become able to apply their learning from one situation or context to another situation or context. deep learning is also about building knowledge and refining skills and demonstrating understanding. When knowledge and skills become internalized and automatized, this signifies deeper learning. They are learning. Deeper learning is transferable learning that occurs when individuals become capable of taking what is learned in one situation and applying it to a new situation. For example, in the panel show you're going to play or see later with Ed Cousins, the knowledge of participants have of a given subject is put into a context of an entertaining debating format. So I think now you have a more or less a clear idea what a deeper learning is. So please, next slide, and Sergio.
Yep. And all these concepts, all these ideas led to show what you know and show what you know events, okay? And we tried to build a narrative that would help us convey those kind of concepts. Complex doesn't necessarily mean difficult, but I mean complex in the sense that loads of features and loads of parameters are involved. So we try to convey it through some kind of a video, of a digital calling card that you will see in a second. But how did this all happen? Ed, can you tell us more or less how the whole thing happened?
Well,
or how it started?
I come from a commercial background in the theatre. I'm constantly trying to explain innovations and to sell services to people. And in our normal world, in the old times, we did this with paper. Everybody liked to have a brochure and a catalogue and to look through it. And we thought, well, let's get with the curve and try to get ahead of the curve. If we're bringing new pedagogy and then innovating, let's also incorporate that innovation into all of our processes. So we thought a digital calling card is better than an old-fashioned flyer. So the digital calling card is basically a catalogue or a flyer, somewhere between the two of them, that can incorporate digital tools, that can have animation and can have voices in it. And that's what we created with this. And we also, in generating this calling card, we wanted to use the processes that anybody who was on our course in March will understand, that we work from a storyboard. We generate a storyboard. And in that, we slot all of the different bits and pieces that have to happen in our digital calling card. From there, we go to a script. That was storyboard, the script, and we also used one of our niche characteristics, which is personification. We took the concepts, the core concepts that Patricia and Judith were talking about, and we made them into characters. Sergio, would you like to say something about that?
Yeah. So we went into a process of creation, in fact, to turn that script into something visual, into something, a narrative that anybody could follow. So we took Animaker, and we gave shoes to things like deeper learning, and we gave them face, we gave them hair, and we tried to link the concepts and the personification within the story, so that and we created it, and at the same time we tried to build a dialogue that would help us with those complex concepts, as we said before. And go ahead.
You go from a story, it's a learning journey. You have characters, and these characters are the personification of the concepts. And they go on that learning journey together. And then we put voice to it. Like you said, in the animation, we clothe our concepts and then we give them voices. And Sergio did a brilliant job in working on this animation.
Yeah, it was great. It was fun, to tell you the truth, because it was, those abstract concepts becoming into life. It was really, really fun to see. It was hard work, to tell you the truth, because it's making it fit. Well, if you've worked with this, with videos and all that stuff, editing is a hard work. But it was fun.
Yes. So the digital calling card is something that we can leave to people anybody who says, "What's this all about?" And we can say, "Click on this link." Can we click on that link?
Yep.
Nexus Light.
Nexus Light. I guess we might as well watch it, and listen to it.
Two pedagogical approaches meet. They become friends.
Hi, I'm Process Drama. I work through theatre games and promote creativity, teamwork, and task-based learning.
Hi, I'm Plural Literacies. I come from a background of subject-specific literacies and content language integrated learning, also known as CLIL. I propose languaging and deep learning.
Together, they take a learning journey in the direction of a festival of assessment. The Festival of Assessment is a place where assessments are student-led, with visible outcomes and not just simply teaching to the test. How will they get there? That's easy. The best way is to take the Show What You Know bus. There's so many interesting stops on the way.
Yes, a Show What You Know event takes process drama in a new direction. Each event has some carefully chosen games to play before the preparation begins.
And Show What You Know takes well-known media format and can connect with literally all areas of the curriculum.
The bus stops to pick up the trailer, the documentary, the panel show, the flash mob.
In preparing to present or perform a Show What You Know, languaging happens when the teams of participants negotiate their understanding of how the subject content connects to the specific event.
While this is happening, they are identifying the key points in the subject and creating a narrative, a story which they tell in the style of the task.
When they arrive at the Festival of Assessment, they find learners of all ages keen to test their knowledge with the attractions on offer.
Look, there's a discovery event here that will help us find what we're looking for in an interactive way using multimedia clues.
Yes, I can see how these activities can be used for subjects, target language, and even both being assessed together.
Creativity is nurtured at both individual and group levels. Learners and teachers are engaged in a cycle of learning conversations, guiding them towards peer-to-peer and self-assessment, while using current digital tools to capture and share the processes and products of their work.
From here, the way forward seems so clear. We need to collect and connect what we're already doing and create a new way.
Yes, it's time for us to bring both learners and teachers together as active participants in how best to learn and celebrate their achievements.
Taking to the air with imagination and vision, requires careful preparation and planning. We need to enlist the support of our learning communities, from educational authorities to international partners, schools, teachers, learners, and beyond.
Thank you. That's our digital calling card. You're very welcome to take it and to share it and to enjoy it with your friends, your family, colleagues. We're moving on now to talk about the flash mob as one of our Show What You Know events. Now, the flash mob, many of you, most of you, will have an understanding of what this is. You come into a railway station or a plaza, and all of a sudden, people start singing and dancing. And most of the time, this is to do with a commercial campaign. And that's what we see nowadays. Of course, the origins in such events took place earlier in modern times, in the 1960s with the agit-prop movement, where events which were seemingly spontaneous but were actually rehearsed took place on an unsuspecting public. We thought, well, this is a lovely way to connect people's learning with an opportunity to show it. The idea is that you create a song and a dance, or you create a sketch, a scene, a happening, which attracts attention of people not suspecting that it's going to happen. Like I said, there are many examples of this, and it's perhaps one of the more simple Show What You Know events. It's something that you would use at the end of a learning unit. Say, okay, we've just done, let's say, in geography, looking at the cycle of rivers. So how are we going to make a song out of this? Song and a dance, or a scene, personifying the different elements. That's the challenge. And then for the class, you're working on your storyboard. Set up a storyboard, from the storyboard to the script, from the script to rehearsal. In rehearsal, you're thinking about the space, the movement, everything, all the practical things that will take place in an event, in a performance. You then need to think about where that performance can take place to have its maximum impact on its target audience. We've used these sort of events in schools where we run our academies. And for example, we can have a class singing and dancing to welcome the morning intake of students, or when students are being picked up by their parents, or one class can create a flash mob and go into another and teach them about the things they've been doing that day or that week. The opportunities are endless. Now, I'm wondering, do we have a slide of such a flash mob in action? We did have a recording, but we were trying to get some permission for it. I'm not sure if that permission came through. So those are step-by-step guidance for flash mobs. In the recent course that we ran on Show What You Know, the flash mob was certainly the most popular one to be taken by teachers and adapted. So it would seem that we don't have the permission to show the...
Yeah, we have
We do.
the permission. Yeah.
Wonderful. This is an example of a flash mob in rehearsal from a school in the Canaries, and I think it's just wonderful. Can we play this?
Welcome to the magic of color. Meet the pigment primary color. They are unique.
I am yellow, I like the sun. I am cyan, like the sea. I am magenta, I like to read.
Did you know that if you mix the primary colors two at a time, you get the secondary colors? Yeah, when we mix yellow and cyan.
Yes, please.
When we blend cyan with magenta.
We get high. When we blend yellow and magenta. We get red. We are the second color. Green, violet, and red.
But what are the complementary colors?
We are magenta and green. Yellow,
Cyan and red.
the pairs of complementary colors show a strong contrast. And all of them together make up the color green.
So we can see an art class actually using the language and the concepts coming together in a performance. Here we have the performance being part of the deeper learning. Fantastic that it's done in the context of COVID. So of course we can't actually see the performance out in the street or outside of the school or in another context. We could only see the rehearsal, but lovely work. And we've had several examples that have come from the training course that we did of teachers actually taking the flash mob and putting it into practice. Now, one of the things that we recommend in preparation for any of the Show What You Know events, and this is something that we'll talk about on a number of occasions, that we have a toolkit which is available on our webpage. And when you visit the Playing Beyond Cleves webpage, you will find inside the toolkit, we have a whole list of complementary drama activities. These are activities which will help build the competences that your learners will need in order for their events to be successful events. So that's very important criteria, successful. We talk about successful languaging. We talk about successful Show What You Know events. Those will be memorable. Those will make the participants feel good about it, and it will help them remember the content forever. We're going to now try something which I've never tried before, which is to practice one of these complementary drama activities, which works perfectly well with the flash mob.
Ed, sorry, but before we do that, could we have some introduction with the people who are watching? I mean, there are some questions, some comments that we may have now a moment to comment. What do you think?
Now or never.
Super. All right. Thank you so much. Patricia, can you go for it?
Yeah. Thank you, Sergio. I think there's just one question.
Yeah.
It's by
Really interesting.
Ron. Sorry, I didn't get the surname.
Ron Moraine.
Moray, yeah. Is he referred to the obvious connection between deeper learning and project-based learning. Of course, it's just like it's not just like, but it's as it happens with task-based learning. Whenever we give learners the chance to associate ideas, to connect knowledge, to discuss, to reflect upon what they are learning, there's deeper learning going on, or deeper learning happening. So yes, of course, as you very well said, thank you for the comment.
Okay, and I'd just like to follow that up by inviting more comments and questions. Now, we are paying attention. We will give you your opportunity to contribute. Back to where we were. A supporting activity for the flash mob. This one is about adapting content of a class to the structure of a song. The song we're going to use is simple and very easy to run. It's called the Do Run Run. Very old. Yeah. A do run, 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 a do run, run. And what we're going to do here is we're going to use the content of a class on the 6 wives of Henry VIII. Now we've prepared a Miro board with some of the content and language that we'd like to use. Sergio, are you able to share the Miro that we prepared?
Yes, of course. There we go.
Thank you. So hopefully you can all see this. On the left, we have Catherine. Is there any chance we could see this a little bit bigger?
Yes, of course. Coming. Is that okay?
That's great.
Fantastic.
So these 6 wives, we have a refrain in English. We talk about divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived. And we're going to try to build a verse for each one of these wives of Henry VIII. The first one was Catherine. And if we can look at the information that we have about Catherine, right, she was a devout Catholic. Her daughter was Mary. She was first of all married to Henry's brother, Arthur, who died in an accident. And what else do we know about her? Yes, Henry always said that the marriage wasn't consummated. So I'm going to give you an example of how I created a verse around that information. Then the challenge will be for you as a group using the chat function to create a verse for each of these wives. The first one, here we go. Her name was Catherine and she came from Spain. A do run, 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 a do run, run. Her daughter Mary lived a life of pain. A do run, 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 a do run, run. Yeah, she was close to Rome. Yeah, she was far from home. Yeah, she stayed close to Rome. A do run, 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 a do run, run. That's my example. Now the challenge is over to you to look at the next one, Anne Boleyn. What can we say about Anne Boleyn? Use the chat, please. So we say her daughter was Elizabeth. She more or less caused the Reformation in England and the break from Rome. She was a lady in waiting. I can tell you as well that her first language was French. So got any lines coming up there?
It would take some time still.
Yes, of course, she's perhaps the most famous of all of the wives. There's so many films made about her. So if you can think of a line, just share it in the chat. See if we can make the song. Don't worry, we're not going to ask you to sing it on your own. All the creative processes going in. Oh, thank you, Ron. That would be an opening line, wouldn't it? Poor Anne, she lost her head. Do run, 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 do run, run. Oh, Ophelia, I like that. Brilliant, Stefan. So that could go something like, Anne Boleyn, she was a lady in waiting. Do run, 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 do run, run. She separated England from Rome. Do run, 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 do run, run. Daughter Lizzie wept on fine. No, I didn't get that down. Oh, there's another one coming in there. First, Henry wanted to lay down with her. Well, he did, yes. He wanted to do that with all of them.
You're far too quick for me to type.
So I like this line from Stefan. Daughter Lizzie wept. Yeah, daughter Lizzie wept. Yeah, daughter Lizzie wept. Yeah, daughter Lizzie wept. Do run, 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 do run, run. So people can continue contributing to that. Now we're going to move on to Anne of Cleves. Very interesting. Not so much known about her. And if anybody's read the novels of Hilary Mantel, there's fascinating insights into the lives of all these ladies. Anne of Cleves, apparently when she arrived in England, she didn't speak much English, in fact, practically none. And Henry was put out. He was annoyed because he didn't think that she looked as good as her portrait. In those days, you had to rely on the artist to give some sort of likeness. And this time, Henry thought that the likeness was too flattering. It's said that the marriage was never consummated. And so therefore the separation between them was quite simple and straightforward. And that she remained a friend to the family and actually helped with his, I've gone out of order, haven't I? Yes. I'm talking about Anne of Cleves when we haven't spoken about Jane Seymour.
But I think it's nice. I think we can change order, no problem.
Of course we can. So. See if we can get a line for Anne of Cleves. So Anne's divorce was one of those friendly divorces. They remained on good terms. And as we say here, yeah. Speaking German. Henry wanted to consolidate his Protestant credentials in marrying her and also connecting to the German money that was very interesting to them at the time. Some lines are coming through. People are quick.
Yes.
Oh, this goes very well. Stefan is picking it up here. This is the song. Anne of Cleves spoke German. Do run, 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 do run, run. Anne spoke German to her man. Do run, run, run.
Just thinking.
Yeah, she spoke German. Yeah, it was to her man. Okay. So perhaps, Sergio, if we can go back to the lady.
Absolutely.
Jane.
Jane Seymour.
She was the king's favorite, as she actually gave birth to a son. Became King Edward VI. And King Edward, unfortunately, was never a robust child. He died young. And he was then succeeded by his older sister, Mary. Very unfortunate. That's why we talk about. She shared a lot of pain. She burnt a lot of people. And she was replaced by her sister, Elizabeth. I love that. Coming from a teacher in Nova Scotia, Anne was not on Instagram.
do run.
Brilliant. So back to Jane. Mother of Edward, mother of a king, the only one to actually please him. She was Henry's favorite. She was the only one of the 6 wives to be buried a queen. I'm loving this coming in from Juan McNair in London.
Yeah, this is still coming. Some of them are still coming from the previous one. Sorry, from of Cleves. Okay. Okay, so back to...
We're going to Jane.
Jane Seymour, yeah.
King's favorite. There's a very beautiful song by the Bothy Band about the death of Queen Jane. I'll have to share the link somewhere.
How about, Ed, sorry to interrupt, moving on to the next one, to the next activity?
We can do that.
Because this one is taking too much, waiting for the answer because of this time lapse between the YouTube and so on and so forth. What do you think? Was that too rude?
There's some lovely lines have come through. Very much enjoying the creativity that's out there.
Okay, fine, fantastic.
The point of this is to show how easy it really is to create a song using the content of a class. In this case, we've used a class that's teaching history in the 16th century. You give your students the task, your learners the task, and they will engage their own creativity, and they enjoy doing that. And this is, like we said, building the competences towards a flash mob that can go out on the street. The more often you play a game like the Do Run Run, the more comfortable you become in using this, both the technical language and the content, and your deeper learning being turn it into a song. So that's where we want to go with the flash mob. And from there, we're going to move on to another Show What You Know event, which is perhaps my favorite in terms of its flexibility. We're moving on to the panel show, but we're still staying with supporting activities. So we're going to actually play one of my favorite ever games, if not my favorite game of all time, which is Just a Minute. And Just a Minute is a panel show game on Radio 4. And in this game, there are quite simple rules. You see, the name of the game is Just a Minute. So the object for a person taking part in the game is to speak for a minute on a given subject. And during that time, there's to be no hesitation from the speaker, no repetition, and no deviation. So what does that mean? No hesitation means that you can't go, no repetition. You're not allowed to repeat any terms apart from the words of the title themselves. Any other repetition is out of bounds. And deviation, you must stick to the subject. You can't talk about something else. Luckily, we had some volunteers so we can actually show you how the game is played. You don't have to listen to me talk about the rules. Can we introduce our players, please? Right.
Hello.
Brilliant. So we have Noelia, we have Juanma, and we have Adriana. Brilliant. Well, welcome to Just a Minute. Now, for the people who are watching who don't know the game, I strongly advise you to check it out. It's very funny. In the game, points are scored by the players challenging each other. When they hear a mistake, when they hear a repetition, when they hear a hesitation, when they hear a deviation, they challenge the other players. And if their challenge is correct, then they get a point. And they continue with the subject with less seconds. So you get points for a correct challenge. You get points as well for speaking when 1 minute is finished. You also get a point if there has been an incorrect challenge while you're speaking. So those are 3 ways that you can get points. Occasionally as well, I might decide to give someone a point just because I like them, or I like what they said. Yeah, and my phone number with if you want to send me bism and stuff like that, it's available as well in the chat.
I just sent it, Ed.
Thanks. Keeping the time, we have Sergio, and keeping the score, we have Patricia. Now, we may play 1 or 2 rounds here, and the subject, I'm going to ask Adrienne to begin on this one. The subject, I'm going to ask you to talk for just a minute on. Subject is kings and queens. You have 1 minute to speak about the subject of kings and queens, starting now.
Well, to start, I would like to start talking about the queen of my house, which is definitely my dog. She's the one that decides when do I need to go out, when do I need to stay home, and when I can even be on a video call like you today. On the other side, we got the king of the house, which is my cat, which is also ruling the house and never taking into consideration what the dog says. So finally, we got the king of football, which I consider Lionel Messi, and also that would be
finally. Yes, that's a correct challenge for hesitation, Juanma. I thought there was never going to be a challenge there. There were a number of possible hesitations, but you were being very kind. Sergio, how long do we have left?
17 seconds.
How many seconds?
17.
17 seconds. Juanma, on the subject of kings and queens, you have 1 point for your correct interruption. 17 seconds starting now.
In this time, I'm going to talk about those famous people. Normally throughout history, they've been on top of the power in the ruling spaces, ruling places, ruling countries.
Repetition.
They've been.
Thank you. Yes, that's a correct challenge of repetition. Repetition of ruling. Well pointed out, Noelia. That's a point to you for a correct challenge. And Sergio, how much time is left?
Oof, only 3 seconds away.
3 seconds left. Noelia, on the subject of kings and queens, starting now.
King and queens are the basis of our policy.
Hesitation?
Sorry, the timer has just gone off,
Time.
which means that's a minute is up. Noelia was talking when the minute finished, which means that's a point to her. She also gets a point for the correct challenge earlier than that. So at the end of round one, Patricia, can you tell us about the scores?
Yeah, I think you have 1 point for Juanma and 2 for Noelia.
So the person who spoke longest didn't get any points.
Interesting.
Unfair.
Well, but it's good to know now the rules. Now it makes more sense once you say it and you put it into practice. So
Okay, well, because of that, we're going to give you a second round. So you get an opportunity to score some points. And we're going to move away from history or historical subjects, and we're going to move into something called climate change. And the subject is climate change and me. And I'm going to ask you to start talking about that for 1 minute, Noelia, starting now.
Climate change and me is one of the best topics I can talk about, for sure. Since many years ago, I have been studying and I have been involved in that topic, not only as a teacher, but as a person living in this world. So with my students, I try to use theater after doing a course.
hesitation?
There was a hesitation there, well pointed out.
I'm sorry, Noelia. I feel so bad and so rude for doing that.
No, great.
You need the points, Adrian. You were correct. You were correct as well. So well listened. And you now have the subject. Sergio, what about the time?
You got 29 seconds left.
29 seconds on the subject of climate change and me, starting now.
Well, let's see what I can do with climate change and me. Starting with that, after watching a documentary called Seaspiracy on Netflix, I realized that my high consume of tuna, in this case, was causing problems in the climate, in the biodiversity of the ocean. And what I decided to do was reducing the amount of fish consumed, because apparently it is not only the plastic that we use, but...
Great.
All right.
Great.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
You get a point. You get a point for speaking when the minute was over, and you also got a point for a correct challenge, which means at the end of round two, Patricia, please, scores on the door.
Adrian is the winner.
No, I think I've got 2 points, right? And Noelia as well, isn't it?
Adrian has 2 points. Yeah. You are the winner.
Oh, for this round. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But overall we had after 2 rounds, we had a draw between Adriana and Noelia.
Exactly.
And Juanma, if there'd been more time, I'm sure you would have scored a few more points.
Yeah, you can give me 1 point for keeping quiet so well. Respecting the terms, maybe.
Someone is suggesting giving 1 point for every 10 seconds being spoken, which is also a nice idea, wouldn't you think?
Well, I think with all of these activities, we're adapting them from other models. And of course, in your class, you can choose to do whatever you like with that.
Fantastic.
I've always been against sort of correction of grammar or any mistakes in the language teaching context using this game. Because what we're trying to encourage is fluency over accuracy. And the ability to speak in front of people is what we're training here. That's the competence we want to work at, rather than accuracy. There are other games that you would use for accuracy. What do other people do? I'm quite happy to hear in the chat other people's reflections, having seen the game and seeing the way it works.
They will be coming. I
Yes.
guess some more comments will be coming. But since I mean, there's this is time lapse between what we say and when they hear it, they still get some time for the messages to get through.
Yeah. Sergio, have you ever played this game?
Yes, I have. Let the students create the rules, says Ron Moraine, which is another nice suggestion. I have played it a couple of times within your context, Ed, but with my students, they love it. They really love it. The 1 minute challenge. It's true. I mean, and the students, like, controlling the time and getting the scores and all that stuff. I mean, it works wonders. It does. It is a wonderful game, and they like it. I mean, I normally use it as a warm up, and very often, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I like what you're saying there, Ron, about the participation of the students in the rules of the game and running the show, of course. And that was something that you'd picked up on earlier about Show What You Know events. They are meant to have student or learner participation in everything. We're talking about the new relationship where the teacher is there to support and to guide, to mentor, and the students are really taking control of their adaptations. And what we say in preparing any of the Show What You Know events is for the teacher to have prepared examples of the multimedia formats that we're basing these on. So you would show, or you would get an audio of people playing Just a Minute, and you'd say, well, how can we use this as a tool for our learning and for our showing what we know? The same thing goes for the panel show. We based the panel show and the Show What You Know on a Radio 4 Any Questions. And that's just one format. We said, here's the general thing. How do we make this work for us? Now, just as more ideas are flowing into the chat, I want to share something with you from the previous project, Playing Cleves. We had a head teacher in a rural school in Northern Ireland who really subscribed to all of these ideas. And he got to the extent with his students that they were talking about a specific unit, and he could say to them, which game are we going to use to test our knowledge of the subject? And the students were able, these were 11 going on 12, they were able to choose from the bank of games that they used, which one would be best for a specific subject. And that's where we'd like to get with the Show What You Know events. The students are familiar with them and they can say to the teacher, what about this for that? Oh, I'm getting some.
Yeah, some really nice comments. Yeah. I think that there is some kind of a scaffolding needing to happen, especially with students who are not used to this kind of free environment for learning. And you may want to give sometimes some support to kids. But the idea is that in the end, they run the whole thing themselves as much as possible, to give them like kind of a complete student-centered focus to the Show What You Know events. So the teacher just being a guide, maybe giving the, let's say, the setting off rules, and then the students doing the whole thing by themselves. That would be kind of the ideal thing. But it does need some scaffolding. It does need some time for students to get adapted, to get used to this thing.
It does, and I think that depending on the Show What You Know event, there are different sorts of guides and different moments when scaffolding takes place. For example, when we've worked before on the advert or the trailer, there's a moment when the storyboards are being created by the students and the learners that the teacher needs to encourage movement onto the next step, to get things on their feet, to begin rehearsal. The question there, what if grammar is completely ignored? That's not what we're suggesting here, not what we're proposing. The aim of that specific activity is to work on fluency, but we're always saying that the games give another sort of opportunity for assessment. When you're listening to your students play just a minute and you're hearing often repeated mistakes that are, there can be mistakes that are in the moment because you're nervous about playing the game and being on the stage in the spotlight. And there are other mistakes that you will know are because we need to go over that. We need to check that. And that's why the games, even though you're saying we're not checking grammar here, you are.
And it's also the thing about scaffolding, as I was saying before. I mean, before you actually produce spontaneously, you need to have worked a little bit with the kids regarding the grammar and the syntax and the vocab. I mean, it's not just out of the blue. There needs to be some work before actually students producing spontaneously. So I think this is some kind of a journey, to use what the word Ed used before. Some kind of a journey that starts with a lead. I mean, the teacher being knowing where we're heading, giving them some help for the students to produce spontaneously, which is actually the ultimate goal when you're communicating in the language, okay? And this Show What You Know events will give you the perfect environment for that to happen. And that includes content. I mean, because we are in a Cleves context, so it's not only language, it's also content. And if we do the right scaffolding, they will be both linked together in a spontaneous, free, relevant, engaging environment. But of course, scaffolding needs to be there, and there needs to be a help for the language. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks for that, Sergio. Time is never our friend in these things. There's some excellent conversations going on in the chat, and thanks for that, Jesus and Stefan. Really great points. And what we were looking at there was what we're calling a supporting activity towards building up the competences of the panel show. So if we can just move on to the panel show, to the next slide, please. We used Any Questions, the BBC Radio 4 format, as the model for the panel show inside Show What You Know. And the way this works, it's absolutely brilliant. You choose your subject. Then you ask your class to form the questions. They make the questions, then they choose from their group who will be the panelists. They also choose who from their group, they can also choose the teacher if they want, will be the host. Who's going to introduce. You also can have a role of a person selecting the questions. Right? And then, depending on the context, you have an animator who gets the rest of the class behaving like an audience in a live radio event. just as I was talking about those rules, there's again, these questions coming in are excellent, right? The sort of questions that we wanted to hear. The assessment of show what you know events should be transparent. Yes, it shouldn't necessarily be hidden. That's the idea, that this is a collaboration between the teacher and the learner. And here in the panel show, the questions can be suggested or guided by the teacher, but the questions on the subject are asked by the students, and they will be answered by the students in their panel. Okay. We have an example of a panel show that we ran recently. I have to apologize that some of our examples are not as varied as we'd like them to be, and this is because we haven't been able to interact with people in ways that we normally would, for obvious reasons. We did manage to get a great panel show, which took place here in Madrid in November 2019. We had a group of 65 educators from Versailles and southern Paris who were visiting Madrid to learn about the bilingual program in Madrid, to learn about how CLIL was practiced in the Madrid schools. That was the subject of their course, and that was what we made the subject of their panel show. In this case, I was the moderator, and the panelists didn't come from the audience themselves because we had the opportunity to invite people who we had met during the week. So we had an academic who was teaching a master's degree on CLIL. We had a head teacher of the British Council School who's also an expert in school leadership. We had a member of the Educational Authority of Madrid, the bilingual program, and we had a member of the British Council's, well, the coordinator of the British Council bilingual program in Spain and beyond, Mark Levy. The questions that were asked by the panelists, by the audience, were very precise, were very nuanced. These were the questions that the people were asking after they had seen the schools. They're saying, well, how CLIL is this, and what happens later? What happens to the role of the language teacher? What does the coordinator do? Where do we move between, and some people get annoyed by the terminology, where do we move and how do we move between soft and hard CLIL? These were the questions that were being asked by the French teachers of the Spanish panel. And after the panel show, we interviewed the panelists to get their idea as a panelist. How did they feel this event had worked as an assessment for the course? And we have some of that captured here I'd like to share with you now. Can we move on to this, please? Yes, so the first speaker we have there, the first on the left, this is Miriam Jimenez, who's an academic working at the European University in Madrid. Which brings me to a question, and I'd like perhaps to answer for us first. When you're going to guide some of the teachers who you're working with in the use of a show what you know, and a panel show in particular, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I myself have been trying to implement this kind of active learning in the class, and I know how hard it is. I was thinking, listening to Mercedes and Mark, I was thinking about the fact that we need courageous teachers who are really passionate about what they are doing, because otherwise it's almost impossible, because learning by doing is really hard. It requires time, effort, training, But it is also fun. It is very rewarding. It is very motivating, both for teachers and for students. And my only advice would be do it.
Panelists, please. That was one of three. Educators, how did you feel this worked as a learning event? Mercedes, had you ever tried this in your school before?
Not in that exact format, but having been through it now a couple of times, you can see how it actually allows people to think through some of the issues and their own personal take on those issues, as well as to benefit from hearing how others explore different aspects. So it deepens their own knowledge, but it also makes it broader because they're exposed to different viewpoints and different experiences. And I think that out of that, a certain energy was generated in the room, and you could actually see how passionate they were about wanting to understand and finding the evidence to make well-informed decisions. So it was very energizing.
Lovely. Can we now have the third speaker, please? I'd like to ask Mark, when we think of this as a learning event or as an opportunity as well for dynamic assessment to take place, where does that happen in an event like this?
I mean, I think it happens especially, it's the whole process is important, and it happens especially, I think, in the preparation, doesn't it, rather than the event itself. The event is a way of showcasing that learning, if you like, and showcasing what's come out of it. But in the work that goes into creating the questions, whether they're done individually or they're done as a group, in the thoughts that go into deciding what you're going to ask, what you know, what you need to know, how you're going to express what you want to ask, and then I suppose on the day, how you react to the answers if you're given the opportunity to respond. I think the learning is in that, especially and in the preparation. I think you can see in a scenario where it was a student activity, where that would be crucial. The amount of time that they're given to actually prepare is obviously crucial.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully this presentation has given you an idea around the panel show and how to actually run a panel show as a learning event, which also gives opportunities for different sorts of assessment taking place. See, we have got an interesting chat going on about the way assessment takes place. And this, of course, has been a major part of the work of this project, to explore the kinds of assessment and the timing of the assessments that can take place in the different events, because the different events have got a different quality to the assessment opportunity that are taking place. Now, time is not our friend, as usual, and we've got one more event that we'd like to talk about, which can be done relatively quickly. But I was just going to give some opportunity for fellow hosts to reflect on some of the content of the chat that's been going on. Sergio, Patricia, Judith, you see the conversations going on?
Yeah, there have been some interesting comments. Sorry, Patricia, can you go ahead? Sorry.
Yeah, no, there's a lot about assessment, obviously. And although today our focus was to look at show what you know events, we would like to tell you that obviously there's an assessment rubric. Sorry, our the members of Playing Beyond Cleves have been working on, and there will be an occasion when we will share the rubric with you. But yeah, of course, assessment should be formative mainly. Summative assessment, we're not totally against either. It is there. And learners have a lot to say, of course, but yeah, we are working on that. And there will be probably another webinar or as part of our course we teach that we will share the rubric with all of you.
Yeah, probably we will upload all this material to the web page. And of course, we are thinking of making and co-constructing assessment rubric with 4 teachers, with teachers, and 4 pupils, and with pupils, of course.
Yeah.
There is actually a webinar scheduled, planned by our Finnish partners, which is on the subject of assessment, dedicated to that subject. And we will send the link to all of the people registered here to take part or to attend that webinar when it's ready. This illustration of Show What You Know was programmed to come first, and then the assessment comes later.
Yes, I would like to say something, Ed. Yeah. As we all know, there's a lot to do in assessment plus CLIL. And after 3 years working really hard with the members of this, with the partners in this project, we still think there's a lot to do, a lot to learn. And we hope that with all the work we've done, we can contribute, we can help teachers and also ourselves, because we are teachers, to assess a little bit better than we've been assessing so far.
Okay. I'd like to move on from the panel show. Again, you can create a panel show using personification. Your panelists, the actual panelists can be personified concepts. You can have a panel show, say if you're doing your climate change, a character, you could, one of your panelists could be wind, another could be pollution. It's really, the creativity is endless, the way that you can work with that and engage with things that interest and motivate your students and get them to show you what they know. The last one we're going to show is definitely my favorite. And this is the trailer. We have 2 Show What You Know events that seem to be rather similar in their task. But there are subtle differences between an advert and a trailer, because the trailer supposes a different kind of knowledge to the advert. In the trailer, you don't reveal all of the content, whereas in the advert you do. The advert tells you this product does that thing, whereas the trailer suggests and hints. And here we're going to show you an example of the trailer. This example we have is from a teacher training course that I was working on. And we were working on King Lear in context. We had a group of, I think it was 6 educators from Almeria. None of them had ever seen King Lear. None of them had ever read King Lear. And they came to study King Lear for a week. And I think that there are comments coming through there from Jesus. This is all about the process. We had about 2 hours to create a performance that lasts for 45 seconds. And in that 2 hours, the group chose the content which they felt was most relevant to their learning journey. They created their storyboard, from the storyboard to script. They gave the characters, they rehearsed, and they came up with this lovely trailer for Lear. Bearing in mind, at the beginning of the week, they knew nothing of the play and nothing of its content. And this is their own work. Can we please have this?
The Oxford University Players of Almeria present Poisoned Inheritance.
Are you going to tell me anything more than your sister? Nothing. Nothing will come of nothing.
Loyalty.
honesty, betrayal.
Are you calling me a fool, Boeing? I want to learn how to lie.
Loneliness, destitution,
Wow! Wind blow!
love, regretment.
Oh, my dear, I'm a lovely girl. How much I regret what I did.
What would you do to get power? What
What
would you do to get power?
What would you do to get power? What would you do to get power? Yeah.
Yeah. So, in creating their story, they selected the moments that they wanted to portray, the things that brought the meaning of the play across strongest to them. And here we see that you can make a trailer for any piece of content that you're working on. The scripting is connecting with the language and the subject perfectly, and then put into this multimedia format, which is the vehicle for the deeper learning going on. There are trailers and adverts and panel shows and flash mobs taking place in schools around Europe. We want them to be taking place in schools around the world. Now we have our first worldwide audience. And I'd like to thank you very much for staying with us, for participating, and being part of this ongoing community. There's more soon. Perhaps Judith, Patricia, you would like to tell us about the next steps.
Okay, I think now we're going to have a Mentimeter, maybe.
Yeah, before going.
Yeah, we would love to see. We would ask you to give us some feedback on. I mean, a very easy kind of feedback. Okay, just to log into menti.com. Well, you don't need to log in. Sorry, just simply type menti.com, and it will ask you for a code, and to give us 2 words associated to what we've done here today. 2 things that came to your mind while you were watching the webinar, things you associate to Clio, whatever you consider appropriate, okay? 2 words would be nice, okay?
Perfect.
So we will give time, a little bit of time for people to log in and give us some words, and the words will start coming up.
In the meantime, Sergio, was there any update on the Padlet?
Yes. We got, I think it's something like 3 continents, 4 continents represented here. If you haven't, we shared the link a minute ago for those of you who couldn't have the possibility of putting your pin here. We did ask a question at the beginning: have you used theater in your class? And we kindly requested to pin your answer to the place you're watching the webinar from. And this was at least partially what we got. Got people from Uzbekistan, Taiwan, Japan, got somebody from, I think it's Ecuador, isn't it? Yeah, Ecuador. People right away, all the way from Canada, isn't it? Yep, Nova Scotia, that's New Scotland. I mean, loads of buddies from the Canary Islands, right? People from Germany. We got, sorry about the zooming in and zooming out. Romania, right? So we're, I think, nice amount of the world being represented. Finland, got the UK, we got Northern Ireland. All right. Okay, so some more people joining from Finland. Okay, so that's a nice picture. But can we go to the, okay, that's fantastic, how the Mentimeter is being populated.
Yeah, it's nice
All right,
to see.
inspiring.
Inspiring
Wow.
when we're talking about the shows and art. Really nice.
Really nice. Thank you so much, everybody.
Creative. Exciting.
All right.
Great training. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right. Really practical. All right. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Repeat as soon as
Collaborative.
possible.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Right.
The inspiring thing is really, really nice word. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
The thing about being interactive and interacting, the word here, interacting, I mean, that was kind of scary at the beginning, and it's taken loads of technical challenges, but I think it's worth the effort, because hearing from you, it's really, really fantastic. Really worth it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
Practical. Wonderful. Wow. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Where do we go from here?
Well, we go to June the 16th. Is that what you want to hear, Ed?
What happens in June the 16th?
Oh, we will see you all again, maybe?
Yeah, training course on June the 16th and the 17th.
Yes, we're running a course, well, some practical training on digital versions of Show What You Know.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I would really love to thank everybody joining the conversation. We haven't really, I mean, there was a nice debate going on regarding the assessment thing. So it would be great to see you all when the assessment event happens. Because I think that the real power of Show What You Know is that it gives you a fantastic context for formative assessment. So you would be really, I mean, you would love it. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, probably we will send you an email with the next information of the event.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, please, the final slide could be possible? Okay. This is our next training event on June 16th and 17th, and we hope to see you there, of course. Thank you for joining us,
everyone.
Yeah. Thanks to everyone.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
And thanks to our great technical team. Thanks to our great technical team.